Os dije que iba a protegeros. Pero he cambiado de idea. Mucho más práctico.
My good people, welcome to another amazing show. Proactive is the name of the show. We are in episode 10. LC,
Hi,
how are you doing?
amazing. I'm glad to be here. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm always excited whenever it's shining. The sun is shining as bright as it is right now.
Bana, mwenye alikuwa ametoka Limuru amerudi kwenye alikuwa. Back to normal. Life is good, man. The cold was
Yeah, last week.
Man.
What was July doing in September?
I was
Everyone
even-
was asking that.
I was even doubting my geography teacher. Like, the sun is at the equator in September something. And I'm like, this
climate
September.
change. What we witnessed last week was just an effect of climate change.
Maybe we
things
should
are
start talking
changing.
about the climate change.
Yeah, it's a conversation that people have put aside right now because of the COVID-19, the health pandemic. But I'm sure as soon as the health pandemic is over, people will go back to that very important conversation.
Sure, we need to look for someone who thinks it's a hoax, and he or she explains to us why they think it's a hoax. You know, there are people who actually think that climate change is a hoax.
That's
pushed
what I
by
used to
certain
think.
individuals.
That's what I used to think. And I used to get bored at any conversation with regard to climate change. Climate change. Until I read a book. There's a book I read by a doctor from UNEP.
Yeah.
Dr. Richard Munang, and there he narrates what happened in, is it Sierra Leone that had floods that they could not even manage, and then Italy, then last year I think Italy, some place in Venice. Venice must be a town or a city in Italy, flooding. Which other place? I said seeing the reality of climate change and even trying to read books to understand it last
What's
year.
happening?
So nowadays, it's still not my favorite conversation, but I acknowledge it is real, it is happening, and it will affect us one way or another. And by the time the world, the heat, the degree, what do you call that? It turns the sun will be 2 degrees hotter, something like that. There's that prediction that meteorologists are always saying. By the time it happens,
Yeah.
I will not be alive. I know that because it will probably happen in like 200 years. So probably my descendants are the ones who will suffer. Too bad.
We're sailing on the same boat for sure. I just need someone who thinks this is a hoax to come and tell us what's happening. You know. Other than that, this week has been an interesting one. Watu wasitusi mama za watu. Unajua?
Yeah, people have learned a lesson. Yeah, don't just talk carelessly.
But also the other side was saying everyone...
If mothers have been disrespected in the past and people are quiet.
So
then
mothers-
suddenly...
you know, this
Yeah.
would have been a good show. Yani saya Mother's Day. Tungekuwa na so much fun tukifanya.
I hope people will remember it next year during Mother's Day.
Yeah, but it's not that one.
But
that
you
way,
see,
yeah?
from that, it's unfortunate, that it happened the way it happened. But
Yeah.
at least people have learned that, hey, all mothers should be respected. All mothers should be defended. We shouldn't just wait for one mother to be disrespected so that we make noise. What about the time when mothers were being evicted unfairly somewhere in Kariobangi during the pandemic? What about that woman? I think this I heard from Yvonne Okwara. What about that woman who was found to be boiling stones to feed her children?
Hukuona akioshwa? I thought unasema ule wa kuoshwa juu ya kutengeneza
There was that one. Sijui ati, the chief. It was a chief.
Yeah.
So why didn't people make noise of mothers, women?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. It really made sense to me.
The Senate
And with
finally-
that, I didn't even take part in that whole conversation about people demonstrating about. I was like, wait, what?
Able to move on. Zingine tukianza makasiriko hatutamaliza. The Senate finally came to an agreement.
Yeah.
I mean,
We finally agreed on a win-win formula.
we were not sure what to win.
So what's the win-win formula?
We'll come back to that soon.
Yeah.
And we will have to look at what is this win-win. I mean, I think it's 320 billion
Yeah.
that they're sharing. And
Apparently no county is losing.
yeah, and I saw also the president had to step in and add, I think, some more funds.
Oh, but anyway, we thank God that they did it before counties could shut down their
before they-
services. But I think Kisumu did yesterday. I'm not sure, but I think I had a friend of mine mentioning just from his social media that Kisumu had already started shutting down its services.
Wow.
But anyway, I'm glad the Senate rose to the occasion.
And thought about it.
before counties could implement the directive from the Council of Governors.
We'll check it out before it even goes to the National Assembly, and we figure out kama tumechezwa, kama ni win-win, and who is the winner actually. We'll see all that. I don't know what I've left out that happened in the course of that week.
Anything else that happened? No.
Nothing major that we've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those have been the biggest ones on the headlines most of the times, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, hizi zingine hatutaongea hata tuseme ni nani hao. Yeah. A favorite segment where we talk about a specific show.
What shall we discussing today? Are we hyping today?
I don't know which one we are. Now this is where I fall victim because I also have not listened to all of them. And
have you listened to Courtside?
Hey, sipole. Sasa nataka kunianika. And I feel like, I don't know, producer, Courtside has been one of those long-running ones, yeah? Courtside and Yellow Tape are in the same category.
Hey, Yellow Tape.
Okay. Lefty and Matt, I think. Yeah, those guys. I haven't listened to your show, guys. I'm really sorry. I'm going to put effort now and make sure I listen. How many episodes are we now on Courtside? We're so many. Are we almost to 100 and something?
Wow.
Naanikwa.
Wow.
Sa mbona mnanianika kwa studio. I am trying to just say how I have fallen victim. And you know what? Next time I'll come here, you'll see how I'll shine on y'all. Because y'all have laughed on me. Courtside is my next big thing for the whole week. Jumenicheka tu live kwa studio. But yeah, I mean, help me also just go watch Courtside on acute.co.ke. That's acute with a Q. I mean, let's come have a conversation even on our social media handles at Acute Media. And yeah, ni join kwa hii jani ya nini wewe umenianika, siko sure kama umeiona lakini sitaki kusema. Takutafuta next time. All right. So what are we talking about today, Elsie?
Today we are discussing there's a controversial bill that has been in the Senate.
Yes.
It is known as the Reproductive Healthcare Bill of 2019. Also popularly known as the Susan Kihika Bill. Or I will say misinterpreted and labeled as the abortion bill.
Producer yetu ameita hivyo tu venye tumeingia.
Yeah. So we are here to shed some light and, probably show you guys that, yeah, it might have some provisions on abortion, but don't call it abortion bill. There's so much more to this bill than termination of pregnancy.
Almost 8 parts,
Yeah.
They're talking a lot more about it, and the contentious ones zimekuwa kidogo sana. I don't know, maybe by the nani, Susan Kihika, where is she from? Who is she?
Susan Kihika is a lady, I'd say the prettiest.
You had to start with she's a lady.
She's a lady and the prettiest member of parliament, if you ask me.
Wow.
If you ask me.
Ona so umegeuza show ikwe fashion show, sasa tunaanza kufanya ratings hapa.
Anyway, Kihika is the daughter of a former MP who was well known, a late MP known as Kihika. She's currently the senator for Nakuru County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I know. Kihika Kimani
is
the dad. Yeah.
Now she's the daughter of Kihika Kimani, but other than that, that's not important. Right now she's the senator, and of course she's the brainchild behind this bill.
Yeah. I know you're going to support her a lot here on the episode because I also think for sure she sat down and saw a problem that was there. And sadly, the conversation now has shifted and the church is like, just because of one part of the whole bill, they feel like the whole bill is bogus. And they have done demonstrations on the streets. And then I've been reading on it, Nashindwa, what is really?
I'm also, I read the bill and I could not even, see at what point or read any part of the bill that provides for all those criticisms the church has against this bill, which we shall discuss.
Let's start with what is the church saying before we even go to the bill. We start with the facts, we go to the myths. Let's start with the myths and then bust
myths
them
myths and misconceptions.
And then bust them with the facts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So apparently the church believes that this bill is what we said, it has been wrongfully labeled the abortion bill, so that it's all about abortion. That it encourages abortion. It allows for killing mentally retarded children in their preborn status. It also normalizes underage sex. That's the other criticism I've had the church making against this particular bill, that it encourages same-sex relations, that it encourages adolescent children to receive contraceptives, and that it teaches that sex is for pleasure and sexual pleasure is a right.
You know what's frustrating me? Like, I feel like every time they're talking, like, I don't want to feel like I'm fighting the church, but surely hizo vitu zote wamesema
Umeona wapi?
walisikia
Ulisikia wapi? This thing has been this double O. Ulisikia wapi?
ulisikia
You want to ask them that.
Uheshimiwa,
Ulisoma wapi?
ulisoma wapi?
Ati it encourages same-sex relations. No, in fact, as I was reading the bill, there was a part that was very clear that partner refers to opposite sex. It was very clear.
I mean, part 5 is frustrating for me. I mean, that's part 5 that they have dwelt on a lot.
Part 5, that is on termination of pregnancy.
On the termination of
26.
Yeah. And then part 7 is where also they have decided to pick up this whole narrative that they're talking about. My screen is glitching up today and I want to go there. What is happening? But I don't feel like that's the narrative that the senator was coming up with when she was making this bill. Because I've read part 5. And to be honest, mi sijaona kitu yoyote kama hiyo when it comes to supporting atina support for people to be promiscuous, for lack of a better word, when I'm getting there.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen a lot of it and I'm wondering, walikuwa nasoma nini? Let me get there.
You know, this bill, Susan Kihika introduced this bill in the Senate pursuant to Article 43 of the Constitution that
Which says
we have discussed in our previous episodes. So probably you should listen to our other episodes and get to hear us talk about Article 43. But I'll just read it out. Article 43 1A, every person has the right, so it is under Chapter 4, the Bill of Rights. Every person has the right to the highest attainable standard of health, which includes the right to healthcare services, including reproductive healthcare. So my emphasis will be on reproductive healthcare, highest attainable standard of health, including reproductive.
And we covered this when we were talking also about it being part of the standard development goals.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Good health and well-being.
Look, let's read Chapter 5. I mean, it starts with a pregnancy may be terminated by a trained health professional where, in the opinion of the trained health professional, A, there is a need for emergency treatment, the pregnancy would endanger the life or health of the mother, or there exists a substantial risk that the fetus would suffer from a severe physical or mental abnormality that is incompatible with life outside the womb. And then also part 2, it says, a trained health professional shall offer non-directive counseling before and after the termination of the pregnancy. Sasa surely, hapo sasa imesaidiaje watu kukua promiscuous for sure?
Considering that it even provides for counseling
before and after.
And other than that, you just don't decide to abort a child, from one day to the next. A trained health professional has to determine that it is appropriate to terminate the pregnancy, which is actually in line with Article 26 of the Constitution. Again, still on the Bill of Rights, on the right to life. So Article 26.4, that's right to life. It talks about abortion. Abortion is not permitted unless, in the opinion of a trained health professional, there is need for emergency treatment, or the life or health of the mother is in danger, or if permitted by any other written law. If you read even... So, to some extent, I'd say it expands the scope of Article 26.4 of the Constitution of Constitution. Yeah, that's what Section 26, coincidence, Section 26 of this bill and Article 26 of the Constitution.
And she's gone further even, 27, 28, talking about who a trained health professional would be and what they'd have to do. Like,
And the importance, the emphasis on consent. You know, a trained
Yeah.
health professional cannot just terminate pregnancy without a written consent. This is my favorite part. From the mother, from the mother. It's my favorite part
Wow.
because I've always believed in the autonomy of the woman.
Okay.
No, let me not get there.
Okay.
People will disagree,
Okay.
but at the end of the day, it's the
Yellow
woman
tape,
who's
mnasikia mtu anakuja episode yenyu.
it's the woman who's carrying the pregnancy. So it is her consent
Yaani
that should be
umekataa,
obtained.
umesema si hatukuchangia.
So now the other people come. You guys will come maybe in the case of if the person who's pregnant, whose pregnancy ought to be terminated is someone with a mental illness, and you're probably the next of kin or a spouse or a minor. But otherwise, if it is an adult woman, then she has the right to make the decision and of course to give the consent
And I think that's
in
where
accordance with the law, of course.
this is where the whole contentious part comes into play, this part where if a minor is going to go with a parent, and deciding whether or not they're going to keep the baby or not, I think they're just pro-life and not pro-choice. And that's the biggest issue here.
Babies babies by choice versus babies by chance.
By chance.
Babies by
Hata
choice
sijui hiyo ni gani hiyo, but
inakwanga tu argument ya abortion.
And I think for me, what I saw would have been a big issue for them was clearly stating what are these mental or physical disabilities that the kid has for it to be labeled
that
as
warrant termination of the pregnancy.
I
think what I will recommend is that probably Susan or her team that is working on this bill should probably expand and probably clarify what exactly are we talking about when you talk about mental or physical disability of the child. In fact, it uses such complex terms. There exists substantial risk, according to section 26 1C. Of course, a pregnancy may be terminated by a trained health professional where, in the opinion of the trained health professional, there exists a substantial risk that the fetus will suffer from a severe physical or mental abnormality that is incompatible with life outside the womb. So what is incompatibility with life outside the womb? I don't know whether I don't understand it because I'm not a medical... I've not
from
been
a
trained.
legal point, what would you be considering incompatible? Is it something that they are basing on medical or legal also?
I think it's medical.
Has to be medical.
Incompatible with life outside the womb.
So this bill, probably the issue is it needs to be written properly for people to understand it, for it to be passed by. Like, we can't just throw in a
to be understood by hoi polloi people like me.
No.
Pedestrians.
Look, we're not pedestrians.
We are.
We're just saying some terminologies need to be clarified before this bill comes into passing and broken down further, and so that anyone can understand what we mean when we say something of the sort. Like, nani anakubalisha hii kitu? Ni daktari anakuja anasema circumstances zimeshow haezi survive.
And that is in accordance with Article 26. It talks about the opinion of a trained health professional.
Yeah. And I think that's where the biggest issue would have been. And also I think another thing for me from the health professional side was where they were talking about them paying this fine. I think it was,
where under circumstances in which a trained health professional probably based on his or her beliefs
nani hao wanakutafuta hivi mapema hivi ama wameshaanza kusikia ukileta shida ni watu wa kanisa. But yeah, I think it was in part 27
yeah.
Who has hiyo jina Mr. Sema kwa sababu hebu iseme vizuri a what
conscientious. Okay, just basically based on the conscience of the trained health professional. What would that mean? Probably due to the religious affiliations of that trained health professional, or maybe the African values. Me, I just can't do it. There are people who probably can't steal because other than it being prohibited by law, they're also Christians and may just can't steal. So similarly, there are people who believe abortion is murder, and of course based on religion, I just can't commit murder.
So as long as you have any conflict of interest with whatever is
There,
happening.
that's what we mean by conscientous, because
Ah,
it is the moral values and it is the religious values that inform somebody's
Nakwambia
conscience.
zingine ni kizungu tu inanipita manze. Sio ati sijui ni nini
In
inaendelea.
such a circumstance, and such circumstances, a trained health professional has a duty to refer that person. Once where the trained health professional has determined that there is need for termination of the pregnancy, then that person has the duty to refer to another trained health professional, to refer the patient to another trained health professional who will offer the services. And where he or she fails to do so, then there will be consequences.
But yeah, which is part 2 of that section 27, who a trained health professional who does not refer a pregnant woman as specified under subsection 1 commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a term of 3 years or a fine of 1 million
Shillings.
Wow. What is
Or
this?
to both fine and imprisonment.
Yeah, or to both.
You
fine.
laughed at me last time.
Yeah. This is just because of last episode. So this was payback.
Yes, last episode where I said actuary instead of actually.
Eh.
So listen to our last episode. Probably you'll.
You understand where the payback is coming from. Sorry. But yeah, so I think this would be also something that they would be fighting, because they need to understand, okay, at what extent pali tunafika tunasema kuna contention hapa, kuna carbon of contention na Kenya nafanya, and who determines that kulikuwa na a contention to when alikuwa na do the process, like kulikuwa na conflict of interest if they went ahead and did the whole process ama did not refer them to anyone else. Who is there? Is it KMPD to
KMPDU?
Yeah, KMPDU to say that this doctor decided on their own terms not to let this person abort, and who is going to bring these issues? Is it the individual?
The individual or the family of the individual.
And so
you will always hear of cases whereby doctors failed to do what was expected of them. Like it happened with the late Charles Bukeko, Papa Shirandula, whereby the wife was alleging that he had been neglected over there. So should anything happen to that woman and it say that this pregnancy should have been terminated, but somebody somewhere failed on his job, there will be trouble.
Sasa 3 years. Lakini haijadefine
3 years. 3 years ni mingi.
ama 1 million. Lakini 1 million Kenya siku hizi.
3 years or 1 million or both.
Kila mtu anashinda midweek jackpot ya 1 million. Hakuna mtu ana So I don't for me, I think I have tried my best to understand where's the bone of contention with part 5 of that thing, and I don't really see it, and I'm really trying my best to I love the church, but I am trying my best to figure out what's the problem. And maybe we need to bring someone who is reading between the lines that we don't see.
Yeah.
Because
who can show us those things,
where's the problem, church? What is the big deal here? I'm sorry I'm asking you straightforward, but now I'm wondering, what did she do wrong? By the time I was listening to this on the news, you made her look like the devil's advocate.
That's right. Actually, I read somewhere that, they even questioned her religious affiliation.
Exactly.
Is she even a Christian? Why will you ask that?
And
she's a lawmaker and she's just serving the interests of Kenyans.
And there's no...
by introducing this bill.
Hakuna ill intention in whatever she was doing, for sure. I have tried my best to look for somewhere that it says that she had some ill motives when she was writing this, and it's hard for me. The other part is part 7, when you're talking about reproductive health of adolescents.
Yeah, that's the other controversial part.
She's not talking about people actually practicing sex as early
or encouraging adolescents to do so. Not at all.
I haven't seen it anywhere. But why are they making it sound like she's the one who's I thought she would have a provision where she's talking about provision of condoms or something of the sort, but I don't see it anywhere.
Nothing.
Ama ni sisi to understand English. By the time tunafika hapa nilishajua ni mimi labda sielewi hii kizungu.
It's very clear that the national government, of course, should collaborate with county governments to ensure that adolescents have access to adolescent-friendly reproductive health services.
Is that the issue now? what does
I don't understand.
adolescent friendly
In fact, what is
health?
reproductive health? Reproductive health does not even have to include matters to do with sex and all that.
Okay.
I mean, even in my capacity as a lady, I need access to reproductive health for one thing or another, because anything could be anything.
Na sipendi venye umetu leave out of that conversation. Hata si
by the
wanaume
way.
pia sisi. Kwanza si ndio tuko neglected sana.
Uko neglected sana kweli.
Hiyo ni show ya Yellow Tape, tutakuja kuongea juu ya boy child manze.
Yeah.
But I don't see any issue here.
She talks about, ensuring adolescents have access to age-appropriate mentorship programs, spiritual and moral guidance, counseling on abstinence.
Yani hata alianza na abstinence.
Yes, consequences of unsafe abortion. So not encouraging the adolescents to actually go out there, mess up and go get
and has
terminate their
clarified
pregnancies.
what is unsafe abortion in part 26 onwards, of part 5, like section 26.
Yeah.
I don't see...
and it's important that adolescents get this kind of conversation, because as I was telling you earlier, these things are happening.
Yeah.
We cannot continue to pretend to be blind to what is happening around us. Whether we like it or not, abortion is happening. People go to quack doctors. I don't know any quack doctor, but one thing I know I have heard is that, some pills are imported. In fact, there was a time there was a scandal on the media about some counterfeit pills for abortion that had been procured into the country and all that. I don't know how that scandal went. It's a long time ago, but still the fact remains that abortion is happening. So the bill actually just acknowledges that, hey,
you know what?
It's not that I'm encouraging the adolescents to do that, but it is important that they get education on consequences of unsafe abortion, because there are consequences. Because even unapata ati, somebody went through all that, you used pesticides to abort, and then in future, that person has pesticides. Some people use pesticides. I don't know them, but I have read based on my research.
That's intense.
Yeah, and you find that now in future, when that person now is ready to become a mother, you can't, because you're having fertility issues. Why are you having fertility issues? It's a consequence of the unsafe abortion methods that you went through back when you were young. That's what happens.
Let's go. I mean, me for the bill.
So that's why it's important that adolescents are educated on the consequences of unsafe abortion. Because in fact, why would adolescents run for unsafe abortion? It's because you don't want to tell your parent, so that your parent takes you to the doctor. Because most of the parents are not accommodative.
I mean...
the idea that their child engaged in sex.
I don't disagree with you, Elsie. I mean, that's a conversation. And I like that she actually added also onto that part that they would talk about STIs and HIV and AIDS, substance and drug abuse, training in livelihood and life skills, vocational trainings, and such other health services as the cabinet secretary shall determine. So it wasn't just something that she had just thought of and put unsafe abortions there as a consequence only. She also worked on other things that they would be trained on, and it would be of importance. So the conversation, of course tuna agree. Ile syllabus wanatumia ni nzee. Mi sikatai. Wananidu we ni advocate mkubwa wa kusema syllabus irivaisiwe hii hapa kwanza ya reproductive health.
It should.
And
it should, so that people get more information.
Yeah, and I think she has provided a lot in terms of how this training or this part of counseling should go on.
With the way this bill really emphasizes on counseling for the children, counseling for people who'd like to, not people who'd like, for people who in the opinion of a trained health professional have to terminate their pregnancy, counseling even for people who are having fertility issues and now have to get their baby through assisted reproductive methods like surrogacy, IVF.
So what's the
artificial insemination?
I mean, wachungaji, vita iko wapi? Mimi sielewi.
Hata mimi sielewi, because I mean I like the provisions, access to family planning, assisted reproduction. Allow me to just talk about this kidogo. For a long time, this question of surrogacy has always been complicated in Kenya. I have come across some case law back when I was studying family law back in second year, and it's always been a gray area on surrogacy, because what happens, there's even sometimes it's even controversial once it gets to the registrar of births and deaths, because the registrar of births and deaths doesn't know whom to register as the parents. Should it be the one that gave birth to the child, the surrogate mother, or should it be the commissioning parents? Okay, now commissioning parents is a term that has been introduced by this bill. That is the people who got into a contractual agreement with the surrogate mother that you'll give birth to our child.
Yeah, true.
It's always been a controversial area of law, because other than it's never been clear cut. But now I can see Susan Kihika through this bill has tried to make provisions that will make everything less complicated in a surrogacy arrangement. From the contractual arrangement to now when once it gets to the register of births and deaths, the fact that once the surrogate mother gives birth to the child, story meisha hapo.
I'll even shock you. Like, the contention also was, when should someone be considered fit to be a surrogate? Like, they were fighting.
It's there. Actually, it provides that no one can be a surrogate unless you're at least 21 years of age.
And so
then,
for them, 21 was too young.
For people to even go for the surrogacy, take the surrogacy option, it has to be very clear that they have tried and they cannot have children on their own.
The church.
I feel like it's still even restrictive, because other people...
Yeah.
Even me, at some point, I was thinking, with that pain of giving birth, I don't want. If I can get someone to do it for me. But you see, this bill does not give somebody that option of atini haujiski. No, actually, it has to be proven, that you cannot have children
for sure
on your
you can't
own.
have.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure. It's not a matter of...
where utaenda uadopt, wacha tu tuagane.
Mi nita-adopt.
But they also had an issue with that one, and they were saying 21 is too young for someone to determine whether or not ati kama anaweza kuwa surrogate, anaweza kadecide kukuwa the surrogate one. They're saying 21 bado anaishi na mzazi hajanini, so hii imekuwa money minting scheme pia. Like, the people have worked this to ensure that it does not make sense, but they're not seeing Susan's side, where she's coming with something that is fully detailed, explaining how things would go down. So it's not you waking up and deciding, hey, I'm broke, let me go be a surrogate somewhere. It doesn't work that way also. I think there should be a provision of how also, once you're 21 and above, what other things should be considered before you become a surrogate. It shouldn't be something that you're coming here as a way of earning. Unajua, sio kuuza kidney ama kukua sperm donor. It doesn't work that way.
No, but that's how it works in other countries.
I mean, our morals are still there,
Okay, we are Africans. We are Africans.
It's enshrined in our constitution, in our national anthem. We still sing to our God. But she hasn't made it look like, hey, I've come today to be the devil's advocate and I'm going to do everything different. I think they just need to find a middle ground. And I think it's not even really that contentious as they make it sound.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. I don't know anything else on that bill that really was of contention. Unajua hapa ndakula mdomo after
bone of contention.
Sioni a big bone of contention pali inakuja.
Niyo to adolescents.
I loved what she did with FGM for sure.
FGM, but now ebu cheki alieka huko kwa miscellaneous. Alieka kwa miscellaneous, kwani it's not important.
I think it's some battle that has been fought properly and she's just adding it as miscellaneous because I think it's
but
been detailed elsewhere.
Have children been discriminated? Maybe there's an FGM act. Come to think of it,
there's an FGM act. A full FGM act.
Yeah.
So when she put it as miscellaneous, it's not that she's undermining what has been done. Imagine her coming back and then fighting again, considering how many ladies have fought for this. And I think it didn't even start with Naisula. There was this other lady, I forget her name, like who started fighting for that bill, and to be passed. And
but what she provides for through this bill, what it provides is that a victim of FGM ought not to be discriminated while seeking reproductive health services. So I don't understand why they are opposing this bill.
Why are we fighting this thing? Today wasn't supposed to be a long show.
Yeah.
This one we were just wondering what's happening.
Atuelewi. But probably we should get someone
part 2,
Uh-huh.
like of these subsections before we
If you know
start our next
someone, feel
series.
free to text him or right?
And we've been
Or
part
you
of
can
the
inbox Acute Media on Twitter.
we've been part of the church for a while.
Yeah.
We
Si
just
tulijoin church.
Bana. Maybe we just need to go back to church and call one of the guys and be like, Niaje, we have this show that we talk about all the issues that are going on, matters or in terms of the constitution. Simka mtueleze shida yenyu ni gani, because maybe we can't see it from their side. We're failing to see it from what perspective they're seeing this thing, because I really don't see a big issue as such. They should have just gone like, we just need a few amendments to what you're saying and this bill will make sense. That's all I think. She's not the devil's advocate. People have gone on the streets to demonstrate this bill without knowing what she's saying.
So you would advise them to go back,
Sit
down,
and she had
start
known,
with Article 43, 1A, then go to the bill, read through.
And a lot of these things, even from an African point, some of these SDGs, if the church sat down and took them as their own, tungekuwa tunaziachieve a lot faster. But if they wait for the bill to be, this thing to be written, and then all of a sudden when it has already been taken and what's the right term? Ikishapelekwa.
The bill passed.
No, not really passed. When it's tabled.
When it's tabled before the parliament, the Senate.
Yeah.
This one is from the Senate.
Yeah. So when it's tabled, that's when they choose, this is not right. Wacha tuende tukavuruge kabisa. And they go and cause havoc. Haisaidi. For sure, haisaidi.
Yeah.
Should have just sat down and said, okay, your bill makes sense. We only have a few amendments considering where we're coming from, and you're not asking for anything big. Did you see anything conflicting with how much word we have read from the Bible? Did you see any conflicting part?
No, not really.
And that's
not
my biggest
really.
problem. So what did they see that we didn't see? Maybe we need to bring
maybe just that question of terminating a pregnancy because the child is likely to be mentally retarded.
Yeah.
Because what the argument of the church is that, it is God who gives life, and if that life is given with a mental disability,
and Susan,
you have to
no. Susan made it
but
clear.
as a woman, I know, a woman, you don't want to bring a child to a world of problems. I would not want to bring a child to a world of problems.
And she was very clear on it. She said severely. So there was a level where it has to be severe.
So it's not just about a child having a cleft lip.
All of a sudden thinking that, dwarfism is a disability in Kenya.
So, or albinism. And
albinism.
Albinism is considered a disability. And so you don't want to bring a child into this world because...
So they would have come back and
the word is severe.
Yeah, severe.
Okay.
And we're like, excuse us. Just explain to us what is severe, clearly state it, and we agree on which could be severe. Because, for me, hata mwenye anakujaga with some hole in the heart, it's not severe, bana. Science has made these kids survive, man. So what is severe? Severe needs to be defined. That's what I think. Well, unaonaje? Final words?
I think my position is already clear. I am 100% pro this bill, 100%. One, because it acknowledges the place of the mother with regard to deciding whether or not a pregnancy should be terminated. Of course,
tutademonstrate kesho kama
wanaume. In accordance with the law. And two, because it clarifies Article 43(1) on reproductive health, the right to reproductive health. Because you see, in fact, this act really emphasizes on the fact that reproductive health should be affordable to everybody. That mothers should be given prenatal, antenatal, and postpartum counseling, postnatal care, and so that it can be affordable. Actually, it talks about the services being free from the national government all the way to the county governments. That's a good thing. This act is a plus. Yeah. access to family planning, assisted reproduction for those couples that are unable to have children. We need this bill. We need it to be there so that couples don't struggle when they're trying to get a child and, you know, they can't because the law is not even clear with regard to how they can get their own child without necessarily adopting due to their infertility. Yeah.
Tukae chini tuongee. Mi sijui fight watu wanakuanga nayo imetoka.
Just go back, read the bill, understand. I'm sure any reasonable man ataona.
Yeah. And your amendments would be made clear if you needed them to be made clear.
That's why we have public participation. You can make your recommendations.
Good people, it's been a good one. It was a short one and a nice one just to make sure that we emphasized on these matters that are arising. We start a new show, a new series.
Yeah.
Next.
On the Constitution of Kenya.
This was a good break. You know, we were coming in just talking about issues that are going on. You know, we stretch kidogo.
Revenue division.
Now we go back to work.
Yeah.
And we decided that we are going to do civic education. So we need to teach people what the Constitution is all about.
Do you know your Constitution, ama you just know it exists?
How many chapters does it have?
What does it provide?
Watu hawajui hizi maswali tunaulizana hapa. Tukienda huko kwa barabara tuulize hizo maswali, I'm sure people just know Constitution is a book that was made in 2010.
Katiba, sheria inasema hii. You don't even know the place of the Constitution in relation to the acts of parliament. Which one is more authoritative?
You know, I'm an old one, so I remember the first time I had anything was someone doing that joke when someone was asked what they kama wanajua katiba ni nini, wakauliza katiba ni matiba ama ni nani. You know, it was such a funny thing for me back in the day.
Yeah.
And then even now it's worse. I mean, considering that guy back in the days, that's how didn't know what the Constitution is all about. Ukiuliza mambo gigenje and squad and all this.
People don't know. Even I didn't know this Constitution until I got to high school. And I chose to do history. So I had to learn about the Constitution.
So this is going to be a good journey for us. And we have to make people understand what it's all about.
Yeah.
Do you know how many episodes we'll have to do?
18.
18 full episodes.
18. And we might even have to do part 1 and part 2 for some of them. There are long chapters.
Goodness.
Yeah.
So it might just be more than 18.
Yeah.
I'm loving where the journey will take us. Guys, looking forward to have this one with you. Acute.co.ke is our website. Acute with a Q on all platforms, podcast platforms, Spotify, taja hapa ni pale unanisaidia, Google Podcast, nimesema yenye ulikuwa unataka kusema. Amazon wamefungua yao just the other day. Gani ingine ninakosa? Anchor, si ndio? Guy najaribu kutafuta zote. Unajua zingine unaongezeanga mpaka unafanya producer aende akaongezea.
Okay, unajua mimi naendanga to www. In fact, I don't even do www. Just type acute with a Q .co.ke and it takes me straight to the website, and you know I have access to all the podcasts available over there.
Cheki, CLC amekupunguzia stress, uachane na mimi. Looking forward to see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Bye.